I led them with cords of kindness, with the bands of love. And I became to them as one who eases the yoke on their jaws, and I bent down to them and fed them.
Shalom, shalom, folks. It's Brother Tyndall coming in once again to give you a read-along update and hopefully to give you something to seriously chew on this week. I'm going to ask a simple question. What does your faith lie in? Where do you put your faith, so to speak? As you think of that, let's do this read along. Let's do this update, and we'll get that over with. And I'm gonna be pretty brief tonight. Okay. First off, last week the winner was Amos, and I got those videos done. Like I said, there wasn't very many chapters, and once I got to look at it, the chapters were actually short, so it didn't take me any time at all, and I got that done. I think I got them uploaded on Monday, but hopefully I'll be able to fit. I'm not sure. Hopefully I'll be able to fit the link to that playlist in the description. Actually, I will be able to. I'll just have to edit. Most likely, I'll have to drop off one of the other links to one of the other read-alongs I've done so far. Like I said last week, the YouTube only allows you so much space for the description of the video, and I've been putting the links to all these read-alongs in there. So, like I said last week, before this project is done and over with, I'm not going to be able to put the link to every read-along playlist. You just have to go to the YouTube channel, and they're on there. Okay, now, with that said, like I said, Amos 1, it's on there, read-along's done. Okay, last week, the vote was between Nehemiah and Hebrews. Okay. Now, I always say this. Vote in the comment section below, as in the comment section of the YouTube page. Okay. There are a few people out there that when I go and I turn around after I make this video and I upload it to YouTube, I turn around and I share the link to it on various social media platforms. Well, when I do that, in the post, I tell you in there, vote in the comment section of the YouTube video. That's what I say, as opposed to voting in the comment of the post itself. Does that make sense? And there's a reason I ask to do that. That way there's no confusion. There's nobody, thinking, and it came up this week, and that's why I'm mentioning it. This week, there was a tie. If you look at the YouTube video page and you count the votes, there's 3 for Nehemiah and there's 3 for Hebrews. So there's a tie. But I had some people that voted in one of the social media posts. And like I said, if you look at the post in the social media, it specifically says vote in the comment section of the YouTube video. Okay, for this week, simply to break the tie, those votes that were in the social media comments, I'm going to accept them. But for future reference, like I've said in the past, I don't take mail-in votes, so to speak. So if you don't vote in the comment section of the YouTube video, your vote will not count. Plain and simple. I know that may be harsh to some, and I'm not trying to be harsh. I just want all the votes in one place. First off, it makes it easy on me, but it makes it so people they can see who voted and what they voted for, so they know there's no deception going on. There's no funny business. There's no ballot deception. We'll call it that. I wouldn't want to get flagged by, for using another term. Okay, excuse me. Okay, with that said, due to the tie-breaking vote, Hebrews won. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it. But, and here's the thing, and I know there's somebody out there who's been wanting me to make the book of Nehemiah over, and that's why I keep putting it out there for a vote. Well, this week I got something special. We're going to vote. But your choices this week to vote for is between Nehemiah and the book of Nehemiah. So vote in the comment section below the YouTube video. You got that? So basically next week I'm making Nehemiah. There's not going to be any vote. I'm going to go ahead and make it because I've had one person who's been strongly encouraging me to make it. And I've had a couple of other people. Somebody pointed out the fact that it goes with it's in the same time frame as the book of Ezra, which I made that one a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. And Nehemiah falls into that same time frame. So, they suggested, you could round out that chronological section of the text by doing that one. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I said, well, we got to vote for it. So anyway, like I said, gonna make Hebrews, and as soon as I get done with that, I'm most likely I may do it this week. I may wait till the next week to do it. But I'll at least start working on it. I'll get Hebrews made, finished, and uploaded, most high willing, before next update video, next Saturday. And like I say, I potentially will begin working on Nehemiah. I may get it finished and get it uploaded before next Sabbath. But if not, that'll give me something to do that next week. Okay, now, with that said, don't forget to vote. Nehemiah. Vote in the comment section below. Okay, now with that said, here's the part. Like I said, where does your faith lie? What have you put your faith in? Okay, like I said, think about that for a second. And I'm gonna say off the get-go, this is gonna be most likely gonna step on somebody's toes, step on a few people's toes, and that's not my intent at all. This may be something that some people will not like hearing. They most likely will not like what I'm going to say. And but my intent is not to step on your toes. My intent is to draw attention to, like I say, where does your faith lie? And I'm going to ask a bunch of tough questions. And these are questions that you are to ask yourself. This is a matter that's between you and the Most High. It's not my business. I'm not going to speak to the motives of another person's heart. That's why I say this is between you and the Most High. But the way I'm going to frame these questions, they're most likely going to be really tough for some people to hear. Why? Because they probably have their faith in the wrong thing. Does that make sense? I'm going to be as gentle as I can. Like I said, I'm not trying to call anybody out. I don't have anybody in the back of my head that this message is going to. This is something that I very rarely do. Posts like this or videos, posts, even on my, in the social medias. I have all but ceased doing these type posts, especially when it comes to this topic. But because of the events of the past week and the weeks preceding up to the past week, I think this is something that may need to be addressed, because I see so many people. And like I said, I can't speak to the motives of their heart, but it seems as if they may have their faith in the wrong thing. Okay? Now, if you haven't figured out yet what I'm referring to, we can label it all kind of things. Politics, political system, the presidential election, whatever, however you want to frame it. That's the subject matter. And for those who know me personally, know that this is not a topic I talk about. Why? Because, to be honest, I could care less about any of it. And after you see the scriptures and I give you a little explanation, maybe you'll see what I'm trying to say. But like I said, I ain't trying to step on nobody's toes. I just giving you something to chew on, something for you and the Most High examine. Like it says in Lamentations 3:40, let's examine our ways and test them, and let us return to Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. This is something for you to examine and test about yourself, your walk, and your relationship. Okay? That's all this is. First off, let's turn, and pretty much every scripture I've got is going to come from John. John touched on this topic. It's all through his Gospels and his epistles. But we're going to go to 1 John and chapter 2 and verse 15. I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to read. Let's just read the verse first off. Let me pull this up. Give me just a second. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna read this tonight from the King James Version. I'm going to read, most of this is going to come from the King James, although I'm going to show you one of these verses from the English Standard Version, because it's worded slightly different, and it kind of gets to the crux of the matter, if you will, if that makes any sense. But if you got your Bible, 1 John chapter 2, verse 15. Now let's read this. Right here, you see it got it highlighted for you. 1 John 2:15 from the King James, it says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Okay, let me read that one more time. Let that sink in what's actually being said. And then I'm going to point out a few things. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. Now, I said I'm going to draw all my verses from John. I'm going to point to one in James here in a second, just because it backs up this whole idea. But notice it says, love not the world. Okay, some of y'all may have thought of this. It may have occurred to you. It may not have occurred to you. May never even thought of this. But doesn't this almost seem like it contradicts what the Christian world considers the most popular verse, John 3:16, for Elohim loved the world that he gave his only begotten son? So this says love not the world, but over there it says, for Elohim loved the world. Seems almost as it contradicts itself, right? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever realized that? Has that ever crossed your mind? If it hasn't, I'll point something out to you. It's because what John is talking about here, and what John 3:16, the Gospel of John 3:16 is talking about the world, it's not the same thing. Okay? Now, this in 1 John 2:15 says, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. Okay. I'm going to read something from John MacArthur, his study Bible, on this verse. Now, just because, I'm going to go ahead and tell you up front, just because I'm reading from this man's study Bible does not mean I agree with any or all of his theological beliefs. I'm simply pointing out something that he wrote in his study Bible. And he explains what this verse means in such a way as it's pretty easy to understand the way he explains it. Okay? So let me pull this up. Hang on. I'm going to read two little sections where it's talking about specifically that verse. You'll see it. I've got it highlighted. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. I've got it highlighted. But this is from, like I said, the John MacArthur Study Bible. This is the ESV version, but it doesn't matter because I'm not going to go to the text. I'm simply reading his commentary on this. Okay, and you'll see it's highlighted. So let's go over here. And he's explaining, what he's doing is he's explaining what the world, how John is using it in 1 John 2:15, as opposed to John 3:16. Like I said, they seem to contradict each other. Well, no, it's because John is talking about two separate things. But John MacArthur's commentary in his study Bible on 1 John 2:15 explains this in such a way that it's easy, simple, and it makes sense. Okay? Let's pull it up and let's read it, shall we? All right, you notice right here, it's got it highlighted. Like it says, do not love the world. It's in bold because that comes from the text. Excuse me. It says, although John often repeats the importance of love and that Elohim is love, he also reveals that God hates a certain type of love of the world. And then he cites here John 15:18 through 20. By all means, please go look that up and read it. I actually did earlier. I was reading through both John 15 and 16, which I'll get to in a minute, in relation to this, where I'm going with all this. Okay, now you see how he says that. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down to where he specifically talks about this phrase, the world. You see, I've got it highlighted. And he's got all kind of, references to other passages. By all means, pause the video, take note of those, and go look them up. This one right here, James 4:4, that's the one I'm going to reference here in just a second. But anyway, he says this in reference to the world. It says, this is not a reference to the physical material world, but the invisible spiritual system of evil dominated by Satan, and all that it offers, all that the system dominated by Satan offers in opposition to Elohim, his word, and his people. Well, notice those three things. The system of the world. Well, notice that. The evil system set up by Hasatan, Satan, the enemy, the devil, however you want to label that. The evil system set up by the devil in opposition to Elohim, his word, and his people. But you notice it says it's not the physical or the material world, but the invisible spiritual system of evil dominated by Satan. Just let that sink in for a moment. Do not love the world or the things in the world. Meaning, do not love that spiritual system of evil that's in the world, that's dominated by Satan. Now again, I ask, where does your faith lie? Okay, let's go to the next verse. Again, it's from John. And I'm going to show you something. Actually, yeah, let's go to the next verse. Let me pull this up. Hang on. This is going to be from 1 John chapter 3 and verse 10. And I simply point this out. Let's read the verse, and then I'll show you why I'm pointing this verse out. Here we go. Right here. 1 John chapter 3 verse 10. Again, this is from the King James Version. It says, in this the children of Elohim are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. Okay, let's read that one more time. I'm going to point out two things. In this, the children of Elohim are manifest, and the children of the devil. You see how in this verse, John basically says that there's two types of people, the children of Elohim and the children of the devil. We catch that? There's according to this verse, and according to the way John is teaching right here, there's nobody else. You fall into one or two categories, children of Elohim or children of the devil. Do we catch that? Just want to point that out. Okay, now let's go back to the verse. I'm on something else. Notice then it says this: whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God. So if we take the negative of what he's saying there, basically, the one who does righteousness is of God. We say that. It's the same way. One's framed negatively and one's framed positively. He says, whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God. Well, the same could be said. The one who does righteousness is of God or is of Elohim. We see how that's the same thing, just worded two different ways. Now here's a question. This is just, I'm pointing this out in text. This little nugget has really nothing to do with what my overall point. But I want to ask this. I ask this to people all the time. How does one do righteousness? Actually, if we back up to verse 7, I just to emphasize this point. Like I said, this is a side note that has nothing to do with the actual topic on hand, but this is something that I want to point out. I want you to seriously think about this. Let's back up, like I said, back up to 1 John 3:7 right here and read that. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he, as in Messiah, even as Messiah is righteous. So again, I ask, how does one do righteousness? You notice what John's saying there? In order to be righteous, one must do righteousness. That might strike it, go against the grain of what some of y'all believe out there. But I'm just simply reading the text. Again, I ask the question, especially to those that if that goes against the grain of what you believe, again, I ask the question, how does one actually do righteousness? Maybe that's a topic you might want to go look into to find out how one actually does righteousness. Does. That's work. That means you got to do something, right? Okay, now, but back to 1 John 3:10. Like I said, that's a side note. That's just something I'm throwing that out there. Hey, something for you to chew on. If you've never thought about that and what he says there, go do some research. Find out what it means to actually do righteousness. Because the text says, don't be deceived, for he who does righteousness is righteous, even as Messiah is righteous. Anyway, but back to 1 John 3:10. It says, in this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth righteousness, or whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. Okay, now like I said, I was going to make a reference to James, because we're talking here about, this whole section's about love. Please, by all means, go back and read it. But I'm simply pointing out this verse because he's talking about children of Elohim and children of the devil. 1 John 2:15 said, love not the world or the things in the world, right? It's the same thing that James says in James 4:4. Here, let me pull that one up. Like I said, in that MacArthur Study Bible, he actually made reference to this verse. And I was like, oh, I was going to point this one out anyway. What did I say? James 4 and verse 4. Yeah, let's look at that one for just a second. He says, ye adult. Okay, yeah. It says, ye adulterers and adulteresses, hang on, is that right? Yeah, I guess it is. I don't remember it being written that way, but oh well, it doesn't matter. It still says the same thing. James 4:4, ye adulterers and adulteresses. I don't remember having both the masculine and feminine form. Maybe it's because I usually read it out of another translation. But anyway, ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever there will be friend of the world is an enemy of God, or Elohim. And see, that just kind of supports this, where I'm going with all this. All right. Now, you see, we pointed out there's two kinds of people: children of Elohim, children of the devil. 1 John 2:15 talks about the world, loving not the world. And that would be the system of evil set up in opposition, dominated by the evil one, by Satan, Hastad, the enemy, however you want, the serpent, however you want to label it. You see what I'm saying? It's the system in the world that's set up in opposition to God, His Word, and His people. We catch that? So again, I'm asking, what do you put your faith in? All right? Okay. Now, let's go to the last verse. Well, not the last verse. The last verse in the book of 1 John. Let's pull this up. Hang on a second. We're going to go to 1 John chapter 5 and verse 19. Now, this is the one I'm going to read. I'm going to read it from the King James, but then I'm going to read it from the English Standard Version because it's worded slightly different. Okay, but let's read this. Let's transition back to it and you can see this. 1 John 5:19 from the King James. It says, and we know that we are of Elohim, and the whole world lieth in wickedness. Remember, John's using this term, the world, and the whole world, meaning you're either a child of Elohim and you're in the world, but not of the world, as the Master says in John. Hey, there we go. John again, right? Or you're a child of the devil and you're part of that system. You're part of that system set up in the world that's opposing to Elohim, His Word, and His people. We see this. We see this, how this is playing out. Okay, now let's look at this verse, 1 John 5:19. Let's look at the same verse in the English Standard Version. See how it says right here at the end? It says, and the whole world lieth in wickedness. Let's see what the English Standard Version says. 1 John 5:19 from English Standard Version says, we know that we are from Elohim, and the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. We see this, it's translated slightly different. Saying basically the same thing, but translated slightly different. Okay. Remember how MacArthur's commentary, referring to 1 John 2:15, says that the world is this invisible spiritual system dominated by Satan. 1 John 5:19 says, in the English Standard Version, the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. See, that's that system, that invisible spiritual system. That verse says the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. Now, let's just ask ourselves this. This is a hard question, and many aren't going to like it. But when it says the whole world lies in the power of the evil one, what is it actually referring to? I'll give you some suggestions. Public school systems. They're part of the world. The medical establishment. Again, they're part of the world. Military. They're part of the world. Here's you one. Public education system. What about the college education system? Higher centers of higher learning. And that would include seminary schools. Oh, something to chew on. What about the political and or governmental systems? They're all part of the world, are they not? And this verse says, the whole world lies in the power of the evil one. Think about it. And again, I ask, what do you have your faith in? Okay, last verse. And again, this is John, but it's not from 1 John. This is from the Gospel of John. Actually, I'll probably read 2 or 3 verses, one little section. John chapter 16, we're going to go all the way to the end of the chapter. Yeah, we'll just read. I'm going to just read the last verse. By all means, go back. Like I said, when we were reading the commentary from MacArthur, and he referenced back to John 15. By all means, go back and read John 15 and read into John chapter 16, which is where I'm going. The very last verse in John chapter 16. But read, for the context, hey, by all means, I encourage you to go back and read John 15 and 16 so you can see all this. Okay? But let's read the very last verse in John 16, which is verse 33. And I'm going to read this. I'm going to go back to the King James, since I pretty much read everything else in the King James. All right, let's bring that up. Notice John 16:33, and it's in red letters, so that means this is the Master speaking, the Master Yeshua speaking. It says, "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." All right, let's read that one more time so that hopefully it sinks in. The Master speaking. John 16:33 from the King James. "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace." In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. Now let me just point out what should be pretty obvious by now. He says, "These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace," as opposed to your faith being in the world. Your faith in me, there's peace. But if your faith's in that world, you're not going to have peace. In fact, you're going to have tribulation. Whether you, especially your faith being in him, you're going to have tribulation. My point is this. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes. I'm asking these questions in hopes that you, me, and all the rest of us will truly examine the thoughts and intents of our hearts. Where is our faith actually at? Is it in some medical system, the medical establishment? Is it in the military establishment? God forbid, is it in the political system? Well, like I said, I can't speak to the intents of any person's heart. But I so often see people who, it seems to me, as if their faith is misplaced in that political system, And they have made politics their idol. And I'm not saying a politician is their idol. I'm saying the system of the political system itself is their idol. I could care less whether it's Trump, Biden, Obama, Hillary, Pence. I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the system. I see so many people put their faith in that system. And did we not learn that the whole world, that would be political system, would be part of that world, lies in the power of the evil one? So again, I ask the question, where does your faith lie? In the invisible spiritual system of evil dominated by Satan in the world? Or is your faith in the one who has overcome the world, one who has overcome that system, and who can actually save you? Where does your faith actually lie? Something to chew on. And with that, I'll end this video like I end every video I make. Don't just read this thing, but chew on it. Shalom, shalom, folks.